There are two types of men in this world. Which one are you? There are two types of men walking this earth. One type is invisible. He walks into a room, speaks, maybe even tries to impress, and within minutes his name is forgotten. He doesn't leave a mark. He doesn't leave a story. He's just another face in the crowd. The other type? He's unforgettable. Women stay up at 3 a.m. replaying his words, scrolling through his photos, wondering what he's doing, terrified that while they're overthinking, he's out there meeting someone better. And the brutal truth? Most men are the first type. Most men spend their entire lives being forgettable. They go unnoticed, ignored, discarded. That's the reality nobody wants to admit. But here's the part that should scare you: being forgettable isn't an accident. It's the result of choices you make every single day. The way you carry yourself. The way you react when a woman pulls away. The way you tolerate disrespect. The way you wait instead of act. Forgettable men think they're playing it safe, but safety is the reason they're invisible. They play life on mute while other men turn the volume up so loud they echo in people's heads. Think about this for a second. When was the last time a woman couldn't stop thinking about you? When was the last time she feared losing you more than you feared losing her? If your answer is never, then you're exactly who I'm talking about. And the saddest part? You've probably accepted it. You tell yourself, that's just how I am. That's just my luck. Some guys get attention, some don't. But that's a lie. It's not about luck. It's not about looks. It's about the decisions you refuse to make. The men who are unforgettable didn't get there by accident. They became that way because they chose to. They drew lines. They set standards. They refused to settle for crumbs. They didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves first. That's the difference. One man keeps waiting, hoping, settling, explaining away red flags, making excuses for women who never valued him. The other? He decides instantly. He doesn't wait for her to make up her mind. He doesn't sit in limbo. He moves, he acts, he walks away when respect isn't there. That's why she thinks about him at 3 a.m. He's rare. He's decisive. He's not replaceable. And here's the harshest truth: you already know which one you are. You can feel it in your gut. If you're the forgettable type, it stings when I say this, but deep down you know I'm right. You've been overlooked. You've been left. You've been the one waiting for texts that never came. The one making plans she never showed up for. The one investing everything while she gave nothing. You lived it. That's why this message hits. Because you know the pain of being invisible. And you know you don't want to feel it again. The question is, are you willing to do what it takes to cross over? To stop being the man women forget and become the man they fear losing? Most men won't. Most men will hear this and go right back to being invisible. But a few of you, the ones who are tired of wasting your life, you'll choose differently. And that choice is the first step to becoming unforgettable. I was sitting in a cafe last week and what I saw burned itself into my mind. A guy, maybe late 20s, clean haircut, good outfit, even had the kind of face women usually notice. Across from him was this gorgeous woman. She looked like the type men turn their heads for instantly. But while he leaned forward, speaking, smiling, trying to create energy, she stared at her phone like he wasn't even there. He asked her questions. She barely answered. He tried a joke. She didn't laugh. He leaned in. She leaned back. Every ounce of effort was coming from him. Every ounce of indifference was coming from her. Watching that scene was painful. Because it wasn't just two people having coffee. It was a movie every man has acted in at some point in his life. A man pouring his energy into a woman who decided months ago that she wasn't interested. She was already gone, only her body was still sitting at the table. And the man across from her? He was too blind, too desperate, or too hopeful to see it. The truth slapped me as I watched. She had made her choice a long time ago. Probably the very first time he showed her he would overinvest while she gave nothing. Probably the first time he accepted disrespect instead of setting boundaries. Maybe even on their first date when she tested him and he failed without even realizing it. The point is, her decision was locked in, and he was still auditioning for a role she had already given to someone else. Do you understand how tragic that is? 6 months of his life were about to be wasted. 6 months of trying harder, of adjusting himself, of giving more, of accepting less. 6 months of pretending not to see the obvious. She wasn't interested. And after those 6 months, she would leave anyway. She'd leave for someone who never had to convince her. Someone she respected instantly. Someone who showed her his worth through action, not begging. That cafe wasn't just a random interaction. It was a lesson in plain sight. Most men are exactly like that guy. They're sitting across from women who are mentally already gone, trying to breathe life into something that was dead from the start. And the sad part? They think it's noble. They think effort equals loyalty. They think patience equals love. They call it working on the relationship. But really it's just fear. Fear of leaving. Fear of being alone. Fear of admitting the truth, she doesn't want you anymore. What that man didn't realize, and what most of you don't realize, is that the moment you sense disinterest, you're already on borrowed time. Every laugh she fakes, every text she delays, every excuse she gives is a signal. The clock has already started ticking. You either act now or you're just waiting for the axe to fall. And the longer you wait, the more of your confidence, self-worth, and dignity is stripped away piece by piece. If that man in the cafe had stood up after 10 minutes, thanked her for her time, and walked out, everything would have changed. She would have felt something she never expected: loss. She would have realized that her indifference had consequences. Instead, she saw exactly what women never respect: a man willing to fight for scraps of attention. That's why most men never win. They keep chasing interest that doesn't exist. They keep waiting for a miracle instead of making a decision. That cafe scene wasn't just about him. It was a mirror for every man too scared to walk away when respect is gone. The truth is simple. If you don't value yourself enough to leave, no woman will ever value you enough to stay. Look around at the world we live in today and you'll notice something nobody wants to admit. The gap between men is getting wider every single year. On one side you have men who are sharp, decisive, disciplined, and unshakable. On the other side you have men who are drifting, confused, emotional, and constantly reacting to everything around them. The divide isn't small anymore. It's massive. And every choice you make either pulls you toward one side or the other. The scary part is this: once you fall into the weaker category, it's almost impossible to climb out. Not because you can't, but because you start building habits that trap you. You tolerate disrespect. You scroll for hours instead of building. You chase women who barely notice you instead of mastering yourself. You react to life instead of directing it. Every one of those choices makes you softer. Every one of those choices pushes you further from strength. Meanwhile, the men on the other side are sharpening themselves daily. They aren't waiting for permission. They aren't waiting for motivation. They're moving. They're creating, building, cutting away what weakens them. While you sit on your phone hoping she texts back, they're stacking money, skills, and confidence. And guess what? Those men become the rare few women truly respect. They don't have to beg for attention because they already command it through the way they live. This is the divide that nobody tells you about. Weak men think they're competing with women's attention. They're not. They're competing with stronger men who've already taken their spot. When she pulls away, when she grows cold, when she stops responding, it's not just because she's confused or busy. It's because somewhere out there is another man who made her feel what you couldn't. And you can't fix that by trying harder. You can only fix it by becoming that man yourself. But here's the harsh truth. Most won't. Most men will stay stuck on the weak side because it feels safe. It's easier to stay addicted to comfort than to face the pain of growth. It's easier to make excuses than to demand more from yourself. Weak men justify their failures. Strong men expose them, then crush them. Weak men wait for opportunities. Strong men create them. Weak men fear rejection. Strong men use it as fuel. That's the divide. And every day you either widen it or close it. So ask yourself honestly, which side are you on right now? Are you the man hoping for change, waiting for validation, surviving on scraps of attention? Or are you the man creating pressure, raising standards, and forcing respect through action? The answer will cut you if you're honest. But that cut is necessary. Because until you feel it, you'll keep pretending you're fine. You're not fine. You're either growing stronger or sliding deeper into weakness. The world doesn't wait. Women don't wait. Life doesn't wait. The gap is real. And if you don't decide which side you belong to, that decision will be made for you. She tells you she needs space. She says she's confused. She says it's not you, it's her. You've heard the lines before. And if you're like most men, you believe them. You sit there, analyzing every word, convincing yourself she just needs time, convincing yourself she'll come back. But here's the truth she'll never say out loud. When a woman starts pulling away, it's not space she needs. It's respect she's already lost for you. The mistake weak men make is thinking they can talk her back into it. They think if they just explain themselves better, if they just prove how loyal they are, if they just wait patiently, she'll see their value. But respect doesn't work that way. Respect isn't something you can negotiate. Once it's gone, every word you speak only pushes it further out of reach. She doesn't want your explanations. She wants to feel something she no longer feels when she's around you. This is why silence is more powerful than chasing. When you remove your presence, when you stop begging, when you stop proving, something shifts. Suddenly she has to sit with the emptiness. Suddenly she realizes your attention wasn't guaranteed. Suddenly she wonders why you didn't fight for her the way every other man does. And in that moment, her curiosity creates the one thing you couldn't force: respect. But understand this clearly: silence isn't a trick. It's not about pretending you don't care when deep down you're obsessed. It's about actually not needing her validation to feel whole. It's about building a life so strong, so full, so valuable, that her absence doesn't cripple you. That's the difference. Weak men go silent but still check her socials every night. Strong men go silent because they're too busy building to even notice she's gone. That's why women respond differently to them. Most of you confuse attachment with power. You think clinging tighter makes you harder to lose. It doesn't. It makes you easier to leave. The tighter you grip, the faster she slips away. But when you release, when you stand firm in your worth, when you show her you'll never beg, she feels it. She sees the difference. And even if she never comes back, she'll never forget it. Because true strength leaves an impression. The painful reality is that most men never get to feel this kind of power. They live and die in desperation, always needing, always waiting, always hoping. They give everything, but because they gave without respect, it means nothing. And then they wonder why women chase men who give less but command more. The answer is simple: power is attractive. Weakness isn't. So when she pulls away, don't chase. Don't explain. Don't beg. Step back. Hold your ground. Let silence do the work that words never could. Because in silence, she sees the truth. She sees a man who doesn't need her to breathe. And that kind of man is unforgettable. You've probably heard it 100 times: just be yourself. Sounds good, right? But look around. Most men being themselves are broke, desperate, ignored, and invisible. So what does being yourself really mean when the version of yourself you've been living as isn't respected? The truth is, who you are today is not enough. Not if you want to be remembered. Not if you want to command respect. Not if you want to stop being treated like an option. Here's what nobody tells you: women don't fall for potential. They fall for reality. They don't care about the man you could become someday. They care about the man standing in front of them right now. And if the man you are doesn't inspire respect, she won't wait around for you to change. She'll find someone who already embodies what you're still promising. That's why just be yourself is dangerous advice. If yourself is weak, yourself will be discarded. This is where transformation comes in. Every man has two versions: the man he is and the man he's afraid to become. The first version is comfortable. He makes excuses, avoids pressure, waits for things to happen. The second version is ruthless. He demands respect, he builds relentlessly, he cuts off anything that weakens him. That version is waiting for you, but most men never unlock it because comfort feels safer than growth. Here's the paradox: the very things you fear are the things that would make you unforgettable. You fear confrontation, but confrontation would make her respect you. You fear walking away, but walking away would make her chase you. You fear saying no, but saying no would make her test you less. Every fear you avoid feeds the weaker version of yourself. Every fear you confront feeds the stronger one. That's the choice in front of you every day. When you level up, everything shifts. You walk into a room differently. You speak differently. Your silence carries weight. People notice even if you don't say a word. Women sense it instantly. It's not arrogance, it's composure. It's not loud, it's undeniable. That's the difference between the man who gets forgotten and the man who lingers in her mind for years. But don't misunderstand this. Leveling up isn't about chasing women more effectively. It's about not needing them to define your value at all. It's about building such a solid foundation that her interest is just a bonus, not your lifeline. When you're grounded in purpose, when your standards are clear, when your discipline shapes your daily life, you stop playing the game of validation. And ironically, that's when people start giving it to you freely. The men who refuse to evolve will keep repeating the same cycle. They'll keep investing in women who never respected them. They'll keep giving away their time to people who barely notice. They'll keep wondering why they're invisible. The men who evolve, they'll never have to ask those questions again. Because respect, once earned, never has to be begged for. So ask yourself, are you ready to kill off the weaker version of yourself? Or will you keep protecting him, even though he's the reason you're invisible? The answer determines everything. Detachment is the word most men misunderstand. They think it means coldness, they think it means pretending they don't care, they think it means ignoring her to get a reaction. That's not detachment. That's manipulation. Real detachment is power. It's the ability to stand in front of her beauty, her games, her emotions, and not lose your center. It's not about acting like you don't feel anything. It's about refusing to let those feelings control you. The weak man gets pulled like a puppet. She says she's upset, his whole day collapses. She flirts with another guy, his stomach twists into knots. She withholds attention, and suddenly he's chasing harder, begging for crumbs, doubting himself. He is owned by her emotions. She doesn't even respect him for it because deep down she knows control has shifted. A woman never admires a man she can control. She may use him, she may tolerate him, but she never desires him. Now imagine the opposite. She tests you and you don't flinch. She withholds affection and you stay calm. She tries to stir jealousy and you remain grounded. Suddenly the power flips. She can't move you, can't break you, can't make you dance for attention. And in that moment she feels something she didn't expect, admiration. Because you've shown her you don't just control yourself, you control the frame of the entire relationship. Detachment doesn't mean silence for the sake of silence. It means you're not desperate for any outcome. If she leaves, you don't collapse. If she stays, you don't cling. You live in a state where your identity isn't tied to her approval. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you unforgettable. Because a man who can walk away at any moment without hesitation is a man every woman fears losing. The hardest truth to accept is that you can't fake this. Women are wired to sense authenticity. If you're pretending not to care while secretly obsessing, she'll feel it. If you're saying you don't need her while your life revolves around her, she'll see through it. Detachment only works when it's real. And it becomes real the moment you start building a life so strong that no single woman can shake it. Purpose replaces need. Mission replaces obsession. Standards replace desperation. Weak men think attachment is love. They think clinging means commitment. But love without respect is slavery. And when you're attached in desperation, you become a slave to her moods, her decisions, her approval. That isn't love. That's addiction. And the only cure is detachment. When you master detachment, everything changes. Your silence becomes louder than begging. Your absence becomes heavier than presence. Your attention becomes rare and therefore priceless. She stops testing you as much because she knows you're not easily moved. She stops taking you for granted because she knows you'll walk if she crosses the line. And even if she never admits it, she feels it in her core. This man cannot be controlled. That is what separates the unforgettable from the invisible. Not words. Not effort. Detachment. Boundaries are the line that separates men who are respected from men who are used. Most men don't even know where their line is. They let women talk to them however they want. They let disrespect slide because they're afraid of rocking the boat. They accept flakiness, excuses, lies, and half-hearted attention because they think, at least she's still here. But here's the reality: every time you let something slide, you teach her that your standards are negotiable. And a man with negotiable standards is never respected. Respect begins the moment you enforce your line. Not when you talk about it, not when you complain about it, but when you act. She cancels on you last minute? You don't argue, you disappear. She tests you with disrespect? You don't raise your voice, you raise your standard. She tries to push past your limits? You don't fold, you stand firm. That's when she realizes she's not dealing with another weak man desperate for approval. She's dealing with someone who cannot be bought, bent, or controlled. The truth is simple. Women test men not because they hate them, but because they need to know who they're dealing with. She pushes to see if you'll break. She pokes to see if you'll flinch. And most men do. They cave, they explain, they compromise. And in that moment, attraction dies. Not because she wanted to leave, but because you showed her she could own you. Once that switch flips, it's over. But when you hold your line, when you refuse to negotiate your self-respect, everything shifts. Suddenly her games stop feeling fun. Suddenly her excuses lose power. Suddenly her tests bounce back on her. She realizes she can't play you like every other man. And in that realization, respect grows. She may not say it out loud, but she feels it deeply. This man is different. Boundaries are not walls to keep women out. They are gates that allow only the worthy to enter. When you hold them firmly, the wrong women will leave quickly, and the right ones will stay and adjust. That's the beauty of it. You don't even have to do the filtering. Your standards do it for you. Weak men fear setting boundaries because they think they'll lose her. Strong men set them knowing if she leaves, she was never worth keeping. You've been taught to think patience, tolerance, and unconditional acceptance are noble. But unconditional acceptance of disrespect is weakness. And weakness always gets punished. A man who values himself teaches others how to treat him. A man without boundaries teaches others he has no value. Every moment you're with a woman, you're communicating your worth without saying a word. If you let her talk down to you, you set your price at zero. If you enforce your standard calmly and consistently, you set your price high. And human nature always works the same way. People only value what costs them something. A man without boundaries gets attention for a while. A man with boundaries gets respect for a lifetime. There's one trait that separates the men women never forget from the men they delete without hesitation. It isn't money. It isn't looks. It isn't charm. It's the ability to walk away. Most men can't do it. They stay long after respect is gone. They accept crumbs because they fear emptiness. They convince themselves that holding on means strength, when in reality it's weakness in its purest form. Women sense this instantly. They know when a man is chained to them. They feel the desperation in his silence, in his texts, in the way he tolerates things that cut him down. And once she knows he won't walk, she loses the very thing that creates desire, fear. Fear that she could lose him. Fear that he has other options. Fear that his world doesn't revolve around her. Without that fear, attraction dies. Now imagine the opposite. A man who can look at her beauty, her charm, her body and still say, "I won't stay where I'm not valued." A man who can love her fully but still leave instantly if respect is broken. That man becomes unforgettable. Because he is rare. Because he is dangerous. Because his worth is higher than her validation. She may not say it out loud, but she will feel it in her gut. This man cannot be owned. Walking away isn't about anger. It isn't about revenge. It isn't even about teaching her a lesson. It's about self-respect. It's about refusing to shrink just to keep someone who doesn't see your value. It's about knowing you can rebuild, restart, and rise higher without anyone holding your hand. That independence is magnetic. That fearlessness makes her replay you in her head long after you're gone. The mistake most men make is waiting too long. They wait until she's already replaced them. They wait until she's already disgusted by their presence. They wait until walking away no longer holds any power because they've given it away piece by piece. By then it's too late. Walking away only creates impact when you still have leverage. When she still wants a piece of you but realizes she can't control you. That's when it burns into her memory. Understand this, walking away doesn't guarantee she comes running back. But it does guarantee one thing, she will never forget you. Because you did what most men can't. You showed her you value yourself more than her approval. And that kind of man is rare in a world full of desperation. She may stay with another man but she'll compare him to you. She may laugh with someone else, but in quiet moments she'll remember the man who refused to beg. Weak men cling until they're discarded. Strong men walk before they're disrespected. That choice defines how she sees you forever. You can be the man who begged for attention, or the man who left her wondering if she'll ever meet someone like you again. The choice is yours, and it's the difference between being erased and being unforgettable. Control over your emotions is the sharpest weapon you will ever carry as a man. Most men think strength is about muscles, money, or status. But none of that matters if you can't control what you feel and how you react. A man who is easily triggered, easily swayed, easily manipulated is weak, no matter how powerful he looks on paper. Women test men for this every day. They push buttons, they pull back, they provoke, not always because they're cruel, but because they want to see if you can stay grounded when everything inside you wants to explode. Think back to your worst breakup. Remember the moment she pulled away. Your chest was tight. Your hands were shaking. You wanted to text her paragraphs. You wanted to scream, beg, prove your worth. That's the prison most men live in. They let raw emotion run their life. And that's why they lose. Not because she left, but because they couldn't hold their frame when the storm came. A man who controls his emotions flips the script. He doesn't text out of desperation. He doesn't argue for validation. He doesn't chase when she withdraws. He pauses. He observes. He decides. While another man is burning his dignity in a flood of texts, he is calm, silent, detached. That silence is louder than words. That stillness has power. Women feel it in their stomach. It terrifies them because most men can't do it. When you don't react, you force her to react. When you don't beg, she wonders why you don't need to. When you don't chase, she questions why you're not desperate. This shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she is the one feeling uncertain, the one replaying your actions, the one imagining your options. And you? You're unbothered, in control, untouchable. That is true strength. But this isn't just about women. Emotional control spills into every part of your life. In business, the man who panics loses deals. In fights, the man who lets anger blind him gets destroyed. In life, the man who can't master himself gets mastered by everyone else. Emotional control is freedom. Without it, you're a slave, to women, to stress, to fear, to your own impulses. With it, you're unstoppable. You must learn to breathe through chaos, to detach from the urge to react, to train your nervous system to stay calm when everything is falling apart. Do you think generals in war make decisions in panic? Do you think kings in history ruled by exploding at every insult? No. They stayed composed, unreadable, unshaken. That composure made others submit without a fight. A woman may love you for your charm, for your looks, for your ambition. But she will only fear losing you if she sees that nothing moves you off center. That no matter what she does, you remain grounded, unshaken, and free. The man who controls his emotions controls the frame. The man who controls the frame controls the relationship. And the man who controls the relationship never fears being replaced. Becoming the man women fear losing isn't about tricks or lines. It's not about pretending to be cold or memorizing tactics. It's about transformation. A complete rewiring of how you see yourself, how you act, and what you tolerate. Most men never get there because they keep waiting for permission. They wait for a perfect moment. They wait for a sign. They wait until they're forced by heartbreak or betrayal to finally change. But waiting is the disease. Decisive action is the cure. Think about the version of you that's been walking this earth until now. How many times have you stayed when you should have walked? How many times have you begged when you should have been silent? How many times have you accepted crumbs and convinced yourself it was a feast? That old version of you is weak and it has cost you years. But here's the truth, every man has two lives. The second begins the day he decides he will never tolerate disrespect again. That day can be today. The transformation starts with a decision. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. The decision that you will never chase what pulls away. The decision that you will never lower your standards for comfort. The decision that you will cut off anyone who doesn't value you. And the power of that decision compounds. Every time you walk away, you gain more self-respect. Every time you stay silent instead of pleading, you gain strength. Every time you act instead of overthinking, you gain control. Within months, the world treats you differently. Friends notice. Women notice. Strangers notice. There's a weight in your presence that wasn't there before. A calmness in your eyes that says, I don't need you. I choose you. That is the frame shift. That is what makes you magnetic. And here's the paradox. When you no longer fear being alone, you'll never be alone again. But don't think this path is easy. It requires sacrifice. It requires saying no when every fiber in your body wants to say yes. It requires walking away from comfort, from attachment, from the illusion of safety. It requires standing alone while others mock you, doubt you, or beg you to settle. Most men can't do it. That's why most men are forgettable. If you can, you'll never see the world the same. You'll stop caring about one woman's validation because you'll know you have options. You'll stop fearing rejection because you'll know rejection only clears space for something better. You'll stop hesitating because you'll know hesitation kills desire, kills opportunity, kills respect. The man women fear losing doesn't play games. He doesn't act mysterious. He doesn't fake confidence. He simply lives by one rule: my standards are nothing. And because he lives this way, everything he touches changes. Women treat him differently. Men respect him differently. Life bends to his decisiveness. The final question isn't whether you understand. You do. The question is whether you'll act. Will you leave behind the version of you that clung, begged, and settled? Or will you step into the life where women compete to stay in your presence, where respect follows you everywhere, where you never fear loss again? The choice is here. The clock is ticking. The man who hesitates loses. The man who decides wins. Which one are you? If you're ready to stop chasing, start leading, and become the man women fear losing, subscribe now. Your transformation starts here.